And speaking of franchises that you kind of wonder why it still exists, but now at this point in time, you think you should we could all kind of agree that we should kind of put it to rest. Let's talk about Velma for a bit.
Oh no.
How about now?
Yeah.
I mean,
Nah,
okay.
I have
Let,
to
let,
get
let me
this
let
off
me
my
put it this way.
chest,
I will
yo.
Like
let
the
you. I will let you
oh.
talk about Velma because
That's fine.
I give you all the
Savage shit.
kudos.
Ah.
That's not even
Well,
woke because I mean
so
it
what's
would imply that
surprising?
it actually had some kind of something. It just
Yeah.
it's so flat. There's anyhow. I'll let Matthew go through that
It's
because
Yeah,
just
well,
you know.
let's
Yeah.
well,
I didn't
Ricardo's
even
gonna
make
say
it.
something.
I didn't even
Oh
make
yeah,
it
no,
through the damn
I'm actually
trailer.
it's actually surprising to me how everybody across the board seems to hate this. Like politically,
Boy,
you don't really see
Yo,
that
that
would
thing.
catch me by surprise. Look, I thought like, all right, only just like like it was like I think it's something along the line of like She-Hulk to the law, like, or I just
Yeah.
hated on it because it's supposed to be too woke or something like that. But then when you watch, like, nah, actually, no, you're right. It's just bullshit. But I'll say why, right? But the question I want to ask generally, right? Well, Ricardo, how much episodes of this did you watch?
How much what?
How much of the season did you watch? How much episodes?
I think. I watched it out. That's I'll talk about what the problems it is with it is because like it's one of those things I don't hate it as much as other people seem to, but and I was always like I always distrust like this kind of piling on it comes across like performative outrage. I've not met anyone who have performatively defended it, and that I telling you now I have zero patience for that kind of nonsense. But at the same time, I was like, yeah, I could see this clearly fails, but it fails for a very fascinating reason, and I want to get into that.
it failed because
All
it
right.
was
Well,
shit.
I will let you share. Yeah, I will let you share your thoughts on it first, right? But what I'll just give like a brief synopsis of what this is about, right? I'll try, right? So yes, similar to Ricardo, I sat through it. I actually binged through the whole thing. When I say binge, I mean like I watched like 2 episodes. I paused, I had to go outside and reassess
Listen,
myself.
Bravo, my
Why?
guy.
these
Bravo.
episodes, these episodes supposed to be like 20 minutes long, and they feel like double that, triple that.
Thank you.
Oh.
Yes,
Yeah,
they do. They
yeah.
do. Yes, right. But right. So basically, what this is in a nutshell, it's origin story of Velma Dinkley, right? Who is voiced
Of
this
Mindy
time, who is
Kaling.
played by Mindy Kaling, right?
Mm.
Um, and they establish, her fascination with, mystery solving and stuff like that, right? But they set up early on that her mom left her, and because of that, she just had this sort of like, she just felt like it was her fault, that her mom, left her or disappeared or whatever it is. She's not sure, right? So she's always haunted by these like demonic imagery, what that like she would just like her insecurities basically would just kind of manifest in the form of just these demons, just these monsters basically, right? And honestly, that's the closest that we get in terms of because when it comes to Scooby Doo, right? We always expect some sort of spooky monster, right? But that's the closest that we get here, right? And
Right.
that actually would have made for a really fascinating look into mental illness. Because they kind of touch on it a little bit. They actually have an episode where they was addressing mental health and stuff like that, right? But unfortunately, just like everything else in this damn show, they had to make a damn joke out of it. Sorry. And
A
worst off, they
lazy
have
joke,
to
a
make it
lazy joke at that.
a
Right?
lazy joke at that, right? And
Ugh.
then on top of all that, they had to make it meta. So it's like, yeah, we
Yeah,
know this is
right.
stupid, guys,
It's
but
some of
look
the
at like the
laziest
reality
meta
of it
too.
all, man. Isn't that kind of dumb too? And it just keeps doing that over and over, right? But
Uh,
anyway, right? So she's a high school, she in high school and whatnot, right? And they show that she was friends with Daphne Blake, right? Who for some reason is East Asian. No disrespect to the actress who plays her, right? Constance Wu, right? But yeah, in this case, she's Asian, and I was like, oh, okay.
Right.
I
They kind of explain that it real stupid.
it was kind of weird, right?
Yeah,
Um.
that was real stupid.
So yeah, and then
Yo,
they
I'm
said like,
trying
oh well,
so hard to hold back my rage as you talk about this show. Like,
hold on, holy rage, right?
oh
Holy
my
rage, right?
god.
So they set up early on that Velma and Daphne were friends when they were young, right? But then Daphne got hot, according to Velma, and she become one of the mean girls, if you will. It's like, all right, well, Daphne don't want to line with me, so fine, right? But they eventually kind of get back together, so to speak, because there's someone who's running around the high school, murdering girls and basically like scalping them, like just cutting off the top of their heads, basically, and removing their brains, right? But while all this is going on now, you have Fred Jones, right, who ends up being this murder suspect, right? And one thing that they do here that really pissed me off, though, but I'll talk about in my review, is that they just make him this idiot boy, this straight up idiot. Like he's this rich kid, and his parents own this what is why the this gentleman accessories fashion line. So that includes the ascot, right?
Jones Gentleman's Accessories.
That's it, yeah, yeah. So that includes the ascot. So that's the reason why he wears an ascot in the show, right? That's the justification, right? But yeah, he's just like a flat out idiot, but somehow he gets kind of roped into it, and then they establish that Velma had the hots for him at a point in time, and well, he kind, but he actually liked Daphne, right? And then, well, last but not least, we have to talk about Norville Rogers, not to be confused with Shaggy, folks. But
Well,
yes,
that's the
Norville
thing.
Rogers.
that is Shaggy's actual name, eh?
I
Yeah,
know, I know, I know.
we
I
would
know.
never do 420 humor because 420
know.
is bad.
Well,
420.
they address that.
420.
Right,
That's
right, right.
addressed
Well,
there, by the way. They do.
right.
They
Well,
do that.
that's the point I get at because,
Yeah.
but even though we know him as Shaggy, and throughout, if the character of Shaggy throughout pretty much any incarnation of Scooby Doo, yeah, he's a stoner, right? But in this case, like, no, he's not about that drug shit. No, he has he has his little IG live thing, and he's talking about all this health stuff. Or I can't remember what it was, but he says that. Something along the line of that, right? But like, he's surprised that a lot of potheads actually tune into his stuff, right? But anyway,
Right.
he
Why?
pretty much is the yes man. He is the kiss ass. He is the third wheel. He pretty much loves Velma, right? And pretty much will do anything that she says. But
He's
she
a
pretty
simp.
much, yeah, he's a simp. But pretty much she, and I'll close with this, right? Because the show tried to justify that she is insecure, because the way how she looks and how people look at her and all that kind of stuff. Pretty much treat the poor boy like shit. Pretty much have him doing anything that she says, right? Because she is adamant in solving this case and proving to the world that she's not an idiot and she's a real detective, and the stuff involving her mom. Because yes, we reveal what actually happened to her mom and all that kind of stuff. And it's just about her just trying to show the world that she is worth it and she deserves to be in the world, while at the same time, both intentionally and unintentionally, people treating the people around her like trash. And all this is going on, and we still have this mystery as to who is killing these girls and whatnot, right? That is still in the air somewhere throughout this 10-episode run, right? And I'll stop here. So yeah, Ricardo, yeah, your thoughts on this series here.
Right. So it's another show that was almost 10 years old. I thought this show would have been like. So I thought this show is what I thought BoJack Horseman was going to be. If anyone remembers, early BoJack Horseman is kind of bad. Those first 5 episodes.
Agreed.
Look it up. You'll see it had a really low score. And the show only got really interested when they did the herb stuff and then Secretariat Suicide, right?
Right.
This show is exactly what I was worried that this show becomes what I was worried BoJack Horseman was going to be. And that's what the show feels like. It feels like something that was written by Mindy Kaling 10 years ago. So she didn't update it. She didn't worry to do anything with it. She just take it, do that, and then is the lazy thing that would have been. So 10 years ago, I sure this could have come out, and I would have hated then, right? Because it's like, yeah, you had to do something with this, right? And no, but you put it out 10 years later, and it's just like lazy, outdated nonsense that don't really work. The biggest sin of this show, by far the biggest sin of this show, is the comedy timing is absolutely atrocious. Like, it'll tell a joke, it'll either tell a joke way too quickly or linger onto a joke too long. And then be like, all right, well, that's not funny. And then on top of that, they'll do like the worst like comedy line reads. Like, that is not a joke or funny. Why does you said that? And it's supposed to be a funny line, like at a face value, but it doesn't work or make any sense in the context of the statement. Like, it's like, all right, well, that is not a funny joke in any workable sense. Why would you say that? But it's kind of funny because it seems to be random, and it doesn't work at all. Here's another problem. And this is my last point on to start off. It's surprisingly mean-spirited. Like, I didn't think it would have been as mean-spirited as it was. It's just like, why is it this character is like this? And okay, she's being an asshole, but that's supposed to be funny because it's not well thought out, and none of it comes together particularly well. It again takes the lazy humor shortcut that would have worked, that people thought was funny 10 years ago, right? And so it just takes that lazy short, and it's again shockingly sloppy. Like, just from a continuity standpoint, it is a bunch of weird inconsistencies. Like, okay, here's a big one. So Velma's mother goes missing. We see Velma like a little girl when she went missing. But then they keep saying 2 years ago. What? Like it's a shockingly
I know,
sloppy,
right?
yeah, it's a shockingly sloppy show in that sense. Now. Like little things like that. And that's the problem. It's Brickleberry. Like it's that level of nonsense now. It's like you know how bad Brickleberry is as a franchise. Like that type of human, those guys, what they do with the material, it's that nonsense. And it's like, yeah, it's the worst of everything you could think about in terms of conceit. And I know no one who defended this, not even performatively.
No,
like I've
nobody.
not met a single person who's done that. Yeah, it's really bad. I've seen some people like, well, you know, if you don't like Velma, it's because of the racism or something like that. Well, yeah, all
No,
right, like
I-
maybe.
I haven't even seen that defense very much.
Right.
Like this
But
is what I
yeah.
was saying when like I think Ashton's was saying it's like it was bad because it's woke. Well, no, because like no one on either side, like, and it's not like, yeah, they did race casting, but like a lot of the humor, it's like you're saying, is rather mean spirited, and there's also some stuff that's like weirdly right leaning. Like there's like even from one of the trailers, there's the one joke where she's like, "I'm real, I'm spitting truth like comedians before hashtag Me Too," and I'm like, you did a Me Too joke? What the?
Right.
Who is this for?
Yeah, it weird.
I know, right?
That is the question.
What Mindy Kaling? I think what Mindy Kaling was trying. No, here's the thing. I really thought it was like bait. No, like you see, it just baiting everybody into being mad at it, and then the show gonna flip it now and do something interesting, like
Yeah.
BoJack Horseman did. BoJack Horseman was clearly designed to fuck with critics. Like those first 5 episodes were so bland and forgettable, and then they just flip it on you, and they only gave those guys that to give it a mediocre score so nobody would watch it. Like that clearly was the plan. This is what I thought she was gonna do. I was thinking, all right, she kind of trying to do something and then flip it later. She doesn't do that at all. Another thing for me it was how incredibly mean-spirited it was. It was surprising at how silly it was. Mean-spirited. It could have been doing what more it was. And look, I kind of understand where Mindy Kaling was kind of coming with this. Like, you know, look, Velma is one of those characters who, yes, not popular, but she also worked as a workable counterculture character to me. And that was kind of interesting in that sense. And so what she could have or couldn't do is just make that interesting. Because we see them doing Velma in an interesting way, right? But again, it really felt like Mindy Kaling wrote this 10 years ago, or probably before that, and just never get a chance to punch it up or update it in an interesting way. And that is really foolish and unfortunate that she could have made something actually engaging and well written. The stuff with like, okay, I actually like some of the stuff that was kind of good and funny on its own. Like they made a bunch of like references. Like the millennial humor stuff worked for me. Like just making a reference to old Scooby Doo. So like stuff like Don Nuts, or they make a call out to Casey Kasem, which I thought was kind of funny. The fact that Shaggy's dad looks a lot like the original Shaggy is a funny beat on its own. I like that. They had a bunch of references to like old sort of old conceits, like, oh, hey, it's Captain Caveman, or they'll show the characters references the Jetsons, or a bunch of old Hanna-Barbera references. Stuff like that kind of funny to me. Like it is get a slight smirk out of my face. Let me just say that. I'll at least put that in the conceit. For what it is. Yeah, but again, it's a real shame that she just couldn't like sit down with it, punch it up a little better. Because you know, in comparison to something like Harley Quinn, or even like Star Trek: The Lower Decks, where it's a big legacy franchise, you make it work. And the thing with it is, I really thought they was gonna do the mental health stuff smarter, because like the thing with Scooby Doo is this weird fucking thing, right? Where you know the whole thing is about the workable skepticism. It have no actual ghost, so no actual supernaturality. But yet you have a goddamn talking dog who like ridiculously intelligent. And last year or the year before, I think had Scoob, which sucked. But like Scoob, I tried to explain it, but it was with magic. And I don't know why did they started doing this, where the whole magic thing. I don't like that. To me, doing the whole Velma has some kind of like seizure or some kind of mental issue, because like that'll square with her intelligence. Like it explained why she's so smart, but she also has a mental health problem, and why she's the way she is. That's interesting, because like, you know, she's the one who's seen the dog talking or something like that. Like you can play with that and lead up to it. And they clearly like doing stuff with it. And I thought at least with the like in the plot line they had the brain thing. Yeah, like the brain thing. I thought that was gonna lead to the Scooby Doo thing. Like, oh, it's gonna be one of their old friends, or it's gonna be Velma's mom is gonna really be Scooby Doo in the body, or something like that. And they didn't really do that. Like they kind of hinting at the thing because to show what the mystery machine is. The stuff with Fred is okay. But I don't know, but this just did not effing work at all. None of it works. Again, the humor is really bad and poorly cut together. The jokes are just poorly timed, bad one-liners, bad um bad timing. So either a joke will happen too quickly or too slowly. They'll have a joke and it'll linger on it a little too long, or they'll have a joke and it'll happen way too fast. Like it's just a quick visual gag that just comes and cuts. And because I don't know if it's because they're saving money on animation, because oh god, that's another thing. The animation is kind of shit on this, right? But that is another thing that was just bothering me about it is that they have a cut, and I find myself pausing just to read what the joke is. I'm like, okay, well, it isn't that funny, whatever. But then, or they'll have a joke and they'll linger on to the joke a little too long, and how weird and just badly paced it is. It's a really unfortunate shame. Again, it's like Brickleberry trying to be too fast with humor, bad timing, bad pacing. A lot of it just don't work in that way.
So I personally, I really don't want to stay long on this show here. I'm actually amazed that I was just able to binge through all this, right? But
I'm
I said,
impressed you binge through it. I'm really impressed. I couldn't.
Same. I watched a couple clips and I was like, nah, I can't do this. No.
I watched the trailer and I was like, nah, no. I watched the trailer. I could barely make it through some of the people talking about how bad it was. It was that bad. I was like, okay, yep,
oh
no.
wow.
Yeah,
Yeah, well, for me, it was more like, okay, Matthew, you need to finish this one way or the other, because it's either I just put this down and then I have to get back to it tomorrow, or in preparation for this show here, or I just run through it, I just power through it, right? And that's exactly what I did, right? But yeah, to get the good out of the way, the animation for what it is fine. The voice acting for what it is fine. I heard some voices I didn't expect. I didn't expect to be in the show, like Yvonne Orji from Insecure, Jean Lynch, Wanda Sykes, who play the adoptive mothers of Daphne. You know what I mean? McGill Melissa Fumero from Brooklyn Nine-Nine. She plays sorry, not Daphne, Velma's stepmom, right? Technically stepmom, right? That's what it is, right? Even though Velma's dad is pretty much dating her, it's not like the mom spoilers. Not like the mom is dead, right? But anyway, but yeah, that's the best I could give this to. Everything else, it just feels so forced. Just pretty much across the board, though. Whether it's like, I have no problem with having Velma be South Asian, or well, although Daphne being East Asian caught me off guard. I was like, what? Okay. Even right down to Norville, right, being black, right? I have no problem with that, right? I didn't even have any issue with Velma being, well, slight spoiler, bisexual, right? Even Daphne and all being bi. I have no issue with those, right? What I do have an issue with, right? Well, for me, the big issue with this, right, is that it just strays so far away from the subject, from the material, from the core material, right? That they're wondering if this is just literally there's just some random show, mystery comedy show that they just slap, the Scooby Doo franchise on, or like the logo on it, basically, right? Because yeah, this does not feel like a Scooby Doo show at all, right? And that's like one of the biggest criticism people will give this, right? Sure, they make references to Scooby Doo, right? So there's this gag though. I have to spoil this, right? So
With
it's
the
this
brain
government program with this brain thing,
Yeah,
brainwashing thing,
that was
and
bad.
it's called Project Scooby,
Right.
SCOOBI.
Oh my
Yeah,
god.
I'd rather
And I'm
go.
there like, what? And the
So
joke
I
is,
thought
the reason behind the joke is the whole unmasking thing. That's the point.
right.
We want to make fun of the unmasking stuff that we know from the series. So let's wrap it around some kind of 70s military operation. And that's,
Oh,
I was
my
like,
brain
really,
hurts.
And they
really,
try
sorry,
and they
really
try
sure, really?
they try to tell a joke with that by saying, well, the reason why we hate what the bad guys hate is meddling kids. That's a joke.
Yeah, and that's the joke. Like
Just
why, right?
Oh.
so that's
But
one joke. Yeah.
yeah, and
Oh,
I
I
don't
have
get,
a
like
headache.
even from the trailer itself, right? I thought that we was gonna get like some sort of edgy, some like R-rated mystery stuff, right? And that's the weird part about it. You don't really get much mystery in it till like about the last 3 episodes. That's when like Velma like gets her shit together and really start to get into solving the actual case of who's killing the girls, right? And the reasoning behind it makes absolutely no sense though. Like the stuff with the brains, that's all I was say, and then like the outcome of it. Like the final episode kind of wrap things up in a way, but then by then it's just like, but I suffered through 9 episodes of hell. So like even when the show itself actually kind of catches itself, I'm like, okay, this is really what the show is about. It's too little, too late, man. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
What else? But really though, like what really sinks it for me though, it's just how it just like distracts itself from the overall point of the show with just these drab, bland, boring subplots involving, oh well, Velma, had the huts for Fred, and now for reasons kind of likes Daphne, and then he had to go back and say, yeah, she always liked Daphne, and then there was a moment where they
It's
kissed.
arbitrary,
It's
yeah.
like, yeah, it's like, oh well, do I like her? Am I going through a phase here? I don't know.
It real
Then,
arbitrary.
and they're like,
Super clumsy and poorly thought out.
and the show just stretches these things out, and they're like, what about the murders? What about the case? What's all this high school shit about? Like, okay, like I have no problem with characters exploring their identity and whatnot. Okay, fine, right? But it just spends so long just doing this though, and then on top of all that, no, like personally for me, I wanted to like the character of Velma. I really wanted to, but oh my god, boy, she is one of the most insensitive, one of the most insecure characters I have like ever seen like in a long while, boy. To the point that, like I said before, she just treats people like shit, right? And then tries to justify like, oh, well, I'm just going through all this stuff and, my mom and, you should forget what you're doing, Shaggy or Norville, because my mom is missing and you need to help me. And Daphne, you know what I mean? You need to help me because my mom is missing, right? And look, I'm seeing demons and oh, help me, right? So I'll just give one example of how the show feels and then I'll wrap up, right? So there's a moment where where she's investigating. She's in this house, right? She's trying to figure something out, right? And the moment that she kind of runs into like, she's kind of close to solving what's going on, right? But because of what happened with her mom and the trauma, well, the induced trauma basically, right? She imagines these demons, right? So she's seeing all these demons, right? And then she calls Norval. It's like, Norval, help me. I'm seeing these demons. You need to help me. Tell me something funny. And Norval is just like straight up honest and saying, yeah, I actually have feelings for you. I actually do love you. I actually had feelings for you from like, I don't know, 3rd grade or whatever it is, right?
What?
And the bitch just laughing at all of this, like, ha 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 ha. Is that come on, keep telling me jokes, like, isn't that funny? Ha 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 ha. And then the demons go away and like, oh, thank you so much, Norval, man. Those jokes were so funny. And Norval is like, shit, you know what I mean? Like, the man just poured his heart out to you, right? To save your life, to assure you that everything is okay. And you just treat it like it's a joke, right? So, in closing, boy, Ricardo, you're right, though. This was just mean-spirited. But for me, and you're actually right. It just really does feel like something from the 2000s, boy. Something that you would have seen on Comedy Central, like, say, Drawn Together or something like that, where it's going so out of its way to be so crass and, mean-spirited and vulgar, right? And you realize, well, that's the point of it. But here now they try to wrap it around gender politics and Me Too and all these other things. So the show is really going out of its way to saying, oh, you're hating on Velma, or is it what because she have an average size, or is it because she's South Asian or whatnot? No, it's because she kind of a bitch shit. Like, I'm sorry, she's just that, right?
There's a joke from the pilot episode of the 80s Flash series, where he runs up to one of the bad. While you've been talking about her difficult childhood and blah blah blah, this is all I've been thinking of. Where he like runs up to this bad guy and is like, "I realize a difficult childhood probably led you to all this, but that's really no excuse." And then like punches him across the warehouse.
I have to look for that, right? Oh, and last before I get to rating, last thing last too. All right, because of how far and how distant this is from the source material, I was like baffled at how much of an idiot Fred Jones is in this show, right? And yes, it's one of those, oh, everything he says is stupid, so you have to laugh at that, right? But they just run that so much to the ground, but they're like, no, no, I should be laughing at this, but no, you're just a straight up idiot. Like why, right? And like in my mentally, I did like, wait, like Fred was ever this dumb. Daphne was ever that bitchy. Velma was ever this insecure. Norval was ever was that much of a simp. Not to my knowledge, but this show kind of tells me that, right? And this kind of betrays what we know about the series, right? About the original, well, the source material, right? Now you could say, well, no, it's not trying to be like the source material at all. It's trying to do something totally different, right? But it's like you can't do it, it's trying to do both at the same time. So because yes, ever so often they'll make dumb jokes referencing the old series. So it goes as far as actually referencing that, and I'll close to this, right? They actually take like the running music, right? So if you remember the old series from the 70s, right? This is a particular piece of music you hear when the characters are running from the ghosts and whatnot. They even replicate the whole, okay, I'm gonna run through, this door into another door into another door. They do that for a joke, and the joke falls flat. All the jokes in this fall flat. Yeah, at the end of this, folks, this was a waste of time for me. I'm gonna give this a 2 out of 5. I want my money back. I want my time back. I don't know how I was able to suffer through all this though, but the way I see it though, I suffer through it, so y'all would have to do. This was just poorly executed. Just I don't know. It's just something literally that, like Ricardo said, should have come out in the 2000s, boy. But in 2023, nobody needed this, man. And I'll close to this, right? This is a death knell as far as the Scooby Doo franchise goes. But I can't imagine any fan watching this and enjoying this, unless, like, as Ashton was alluded to, unless it was just named something totally different, then I'd be like, all right, this shit. But it kind of reminds me of Scooby Doo in a sense, you know what I mean? But nah, because this is Scooby Doo, even as far as you want to go, as not admitting that it is right down to how many characters look the way they do and be who they are, right? I'm sorry, it's a Scooby Doo show, right? But yeah, this is easily the worst Scooby Doo show. I would say this is like the red herring of all Scooby Doo shows, though, and I'll stop here.
Yeah, no, it's a complete waste of time and missed opportunity in many ways. Like this could have been something, maybe if they try something somewhere, and it just needed a ton of punching up, but too much punching up. Like at a certain point, it has become Weekend at Bernie's. Like it's just, you're just propping up dead bodies, right? Like it's nonsense. Like it's a real shame that she tried something like this in this way, because you could have done something. Like one of my big problems with any Scooby Doo is when you try to do the whole like actual supernatural or actual weird science stuff. And it's like, the whole point of Scooby Doo is the secular aspect of it. It's like, oh, it's just some guy who trying to scull people out of money. Like it's that. That's what makes it work, not the actual supernaturality to it. And they decide to bring that into this. And I really thought, oh, well, the mental health is the reference to that, because really Velma hallucinating. Maybe. Nope, nothing. They could go in a ton of different directions and make it work, and it fall completely flat. And then not to mention how mean-spirited it is, how bad the humor is, because it's just horrible comedy timing, bad line reading, bad lines, everybody that's lazy, constant lazy references to meta humor. Yeah, almost none of it works. Yeah, for me, like maybe like a 1 out of 10 or something like that. None of it works. Like I can't see it have nothing to really to salvage of this, and yeah, I really think this show should be cancelled. But it got a lot of ratings because it get everybody riled up. So whatever.
So Ashton, you saw like 2 episodes, right? So yeah, tell me what you saw off of those 2 episodes, bro.
Right, so I will let you know everything you need to know about the show and everything you need to know about the entertainment community at large, right? They have figured out the hack to make money without trying hard. And that hack is, as I always say, the nostalgic dollar. They are so scared to launch their idea as an original IP that they are more than happy to take something like Scooby Doo, butcher it the fuck down, and put it out there for people to watch. Like it's gonna be good when it's terrible. And Scooby Doo has gone through many iterations, right? It's gone Scooby, Scrappy, Pup Name, Scooby, and Blue Falcon. They've had many crossovers. So the property and into movies, right? So the property has been traveling around, but they are only trying to make money off of us adults who used to watch Scooby-Doo, looking to watch some new type of Scooby-Doo, because this is not made for kids. This is made on HBO Max. So right there it tells you it's not for children. So it tells you that the target audience is us older people that would have remembered Scooby-Doo. And they try to give us this new Scooby-Doo in a format that they should know that we would not like, but they're trying to catch people like in the late 20s and early 30s, or even like early 20s to early 30s. They're trying to catch that crowd with this kind of foolishness, right? People say it's not woke. I disagree. It's very woke. trash, in my opinion, pushing their little agendas and whatnot. And I'm not a person that leans left or right or whatever. To me, that's white people thing. That's American things, right? White, right and left. I don't believe in none of that. I believe in something making sense or it not making sense. Velma made no sense. I watched 2 episodes, and honestly, the 2 people I was watching it with, they fall asleep.
Oh, like, wait. That's not your wife watches with you or no?
No. I was watching it with 2 partners. I was like, I had a review a show with my boy, and I want to make sure I watch some of it before I even open my mouth about it now, right? So I watching it. These men knock out, and I still watching it. And there are moments of that where I just grab my nose bridge and turn my head down. I'm like, yo, what is happening? What is this? What's going on? This making no sense. Okay, things that why do I need to see a baby pushing out a pregnant woman's stomach? Why do I need to see the infection of the baby? Oh, yeah. Why do I need to see a youth man foot get chopped off by a paper cutter in the school due to an accident and everybody moving like ain't nothing happened?
I remember that. Yes. No, they're just trying to
do. Yeah, they're just trying to do things with no reason. Yo, if a man foot gets chopped off in any kind of other programming, people are going to be like, yo, what is happening here? Help this guy. And what these people in Hollywood need to do is they need to grow a backbone and they need to launch their product that they want to launch at us with confidence. Not hide it behind a beloved IP that everybody know about and, you remaster it in your way. As I told people before, if the Halo show was not called Halo, people may have actually wanted to watch it. Same way, Velma is too closely associated to Scooby Doo to try and make that separation. She, in that show, right, in tiers of character, she was 5th tier. She was the last tier. It went Scooby, Shaggy, Daphne, Fred, Velma. I'm sure it went like that in terms of popularity as well, especially based in those times when that show was out and whatever its popularity may or may not have been at the time. But they just keep trying to make money off of people's nostalgic dollar. And I'll always say that. And you could coin that as a phrase from me because I say that all the time, right? Same thing like The Matrix. When The Matrix come out, did we need another Matrix movie? Fuck no, we didn't. But they know they'd get money from everybody, right? Yo, Velma could have been named something else. And you know what it comes across like? It comes across like the Mindy Project to me. If she could have done it animated. That's how this show comes across. And not to mention, I do not like Mindy Kaling's humor. I don't like her sense of humor at all. I find it lacking and wanting of talent. And that's my thoughts on Velma is that, yo, listen, if it's what you like, it's what you like. These are just opinions by me, all right? And this is my opinion on Velma. I think it's shit. I couldn't bother to waste another half an hour of my life, which seemed like 45 minutes of my life, watching Velma again. I think 2 episodes was good. I feel if I put my wife through that she would have not talked to me because I wasted her time. And she really appreciate her time now, right? And I've wasted her time with that would have get me in trouble for sure. Velma gets fucking 0 out of any number. 0 from me. A big fat 0. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. So I just love the fact that the final episode dropped on the same day that this special dropped. That would be Harley Quinn, a very problematic Valentine's Day special. That was about in a nutshell. And actually, much of my surprise, although it shouldn't be a surprise at all, it follows right after where where the 3rd season wrapped up, right? And I actually thought that was pretty surprising, right? So case in point, Bruce Wayne is still in jail. I'm like, oh yeah, right, he's still in jail.
Right,
and Harley,
pretty much it's a 3rd season episode actually. It's registered as a third season episode, yes.
Yeah, episode 3. Well, sorry, episode 11 technically,
11,
right? Yeah.
Right.
And yeah, Harley and Clayface and and Poison Ivy are still by Catwoman's place. Like, oh yeah, they're still there. I forgot about that, right? But yeah, in a nutshell, it's Valentine's Day, and well, it's the first time that Harley and Poison Ivy are official couple. So, and well, I actually like this aspect about it. All that first I was just like, really? But it actually makes sense when they actually like explain it a little bit more, right? Yeah, Harley is really going out of her way to make sure that Poison Ivy has the best, or should call her Ivy, right? Yeah, Ivy has the best Valentine's Day ever, right? And she just pulls off all these elaborate, not so much pranks, but these schemes basically, well, involving some sort of action, you know what I mean? Some sort of like enjoyment, some reason for Ivy to punch or do some kind of crazy shit and whatnot. And it's just to get that thrill out of her. And then afterwards, Harley will come and say, isn't that like the best Valentine's Day ever? You know what I mean? And Ivy's like, it's one of, right? And that kind of troubles Harley, right? So, through some circumstances, she runs into Etrigan, right? I didn't even expect him to be in it. I think this is probably the first time I've seen him in this show, right? But yeah, he actually owns a.
I swear he was in the show before, but I can't remember. The other
Right,
guy,
right.
well, the counterpart.
Jason Blood.
Oh,
Jason Blood, right? I think Jason
right.
Blood was.
Yeah. Okay, right. And he actually owns a sex shop, and like in the
Right.
world of this show, it kind of makes sense. So she gets this spell, right, that will pretty much increase her her sexual arousal, if you will, right, and things play out good. But then there's some side effects, and one of the side effects involve the boy Bane, right, who
Right.
is also lonely on Valentine's Day because not just him, feeling lonely. We boy Clayface as well too, right? I'll talk about Clayface in my review here, right? Yeah, he was trying this Tinder like app. He runs into Captain Boomerang of all people, and that didn't play out well at all. And yeah, well, in the process, he actually gets sliced in half by one of Captain Boomerang's boomerangs, right? So, in a nutshell, well, the top half of Clayface more or less falls in love with the bottom half, right? So literally, the bottom half, well, i.e. his ass is talking to him, right? And in a way, it kind of makes sense, but I'll get to that in a bit, right? But yeah, being kind of suffers the side effects of the spell, and and shit literally hits the fan, and I'll stop there, right? So what I will say with this special here, right? I do like how it follows right after the third season. So yeah, I was surprised to see that Bruce was still in jail and all that kind of stuff, right? Um, but one thing I will give this show though is that they really tap into the word special, boy, because yeah, they really went out of their way to give you a Harley Quinn equivalent of a Valentine's Day special. This is one of the most crass and intentionally vulgar episodes of Harley Quinn I've seen, but I know it's all intentional, right? But what I will say though, I imagine some fans may be turned off by it. They might find it just trying way, way, way too hard to be R-rated and edgy and all that kind of stuff, right? It's not just any violent content, right? Because actually, surprisingly, there's little violence in it. Too. There's like 2 or 3 scenes of like blood and guts, pretty much. But everything else is just these like sexual jokes. Some of them are innuendo. Some of them are just straight up forward in your face with it too. But not too much, right? So you're not gonna see like dicks and balls, right? Even though they do allude to that as well, right? I'm not gonna say how, right? But yeah, I was actually surprised at how far they went with this though. But like the more I was thinking about it, I was like, all right, like I can understand some people might find the humor to be kind of childish, right? Like, oh my god, we have to have this dick joke and we have to have this sex joke and all this stuff, right? And fucking and all that kind of stuff. But the more I thought about it, was like, it kind of makes sense. It kind of makes sense though. I would admit they kind of go a little far though. I can imagine some people thinking it might go way too far though. But I do like that the show is actually focused, at least in terms of the heart of it, right? Because yeah, they could go far and just have it just be a series of sex jokes and, oh, look at your favorite DC character taking about sex and wanting to make out on Valentine's Day, blah blah blah, right? I actually like what they do with Bean though, and like his subplot though, where it leads with him with meeting a dominatrix. That's all I'll say. I thought that was pretty funny as well, and it ties back into the character of Bean too. And just again, this Bean is still one of my favorite characters just because he's still doing the Tom Hardy talk, so I must talk like this because that's how big it is.
They had a line from Dark Knight Rises in this.
Was it with the
for you
sorry?
or for you
Must be good for you.
For
yes,
you.
I remember that. Yeah. the Clayface subplot actually surprised me, right? Because I didn't even notice, but thinking back now, I should have like put two and two together. Clayface is gender fluid, and it
Right.
kind of makes sense the more you think about that character, though. I will say he didn't make me he didn't make me laugh as much as he normally does, because I just love, like, how he talks like this, because he is always theatrical and he's just an idiot, right? But yeah, like some of the jokes didn't land for me with him, though. But I just find the idea of him falling in love with himself pretty much is
Correct.
pretty funny as well. I think that works, right? But again, not all the jokes land, but I like that, right? I wish we got King Shark though. Like, we just saw one shot with him. He was with the
Nothing.
girl, but I was like, well,
Yeah.
I understand he's still hiding the fact that he's the king of his kingdom or whatever it is, right? But still, like, we need a King Shark, man. You know what I mean? Like he
Yeah.
is another character that people love, right? They do the, what you call it, by the When Harry Met Sally thing, where you will have these interludes where you have couples talking. So case in point, you had Hawkman and Hawkgirl, and believe it or not, it's actually Tyler James Williams and
Yeah.
Quinta Brunson.
Yeah.
I was like,
Yeah,
what?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
That's
no,
all
the,
you
the,
want?
the
You know what I mean?
Abbott, the Abbott Hive.
I recommend
the
I
Abbott
recognize
Hive
the voice.
went nuts.
All right, like I didn't do it, but when I saw the credits, I had to pull it back and I listened to the voice, like, yeah, that's Tyler, bro. That's Tyler. Oh shit, right? And Quinta's like, yeah, but I love the joke where it's like, yeah, we met and then we died and we got reincarnated. Yeah, that's how it is. Yeah. The one that catch me by surprise, though, slight spoiler, is Darkseid and some random psychiatrist. I don't know.
So
I
she's
feel like
supposed
that's
to
a
be.
cut or something.
I don't know who that's supposed to be, but I think it's Melania Trump. I'm not sure who that's supposed to be.
Okay,
She looks like there was this judge who is a big member of the RNC, and she's
Right.
very
One of them.
loud. She used to be on
Right.
Fox, and that is who I thought they were
Janine
parodying.
Pirro?
But Janine, I thought it was
Okay.
Pirro, but now that you talk about Melania,
Right.
yeah, it's kind of interesting because
Right.
yeah.
Right. Well, well, of course, Superman, Lois are there. That starts it off. That was pretty nice though. You saw Aquaman and, oh gosh, I'm forgetting.
Yeah.
Yeah. She was there too. Like, that was actually cool. I actually like that. I actually like that, right? Especially how it ends with her talk about, yeah, well, I still want to invade the surface world, right? What she called wheel excrement. That was cool, right? But yeah, I mean, for what it is, I had fun with it. It didn't have a laughing throat though, I would admit, but I appreciated the heart that was within all the insanity and crass and admittedly vulgarity that do. But yeah, it is really surprisingly vulgar by Harley Quinn standards. But again, seeing who the character is and the world that is set up here, it totally works. It makes sense. And I'll close with this. I was actually surprised too with the depth that they gave Harley, because at first, Harley is one of those characters that you like because it's Harley Quinn, right? But ever so often she could get annoying, right? Especially around Ivy, right? But the whole thing about trying to one up, the Valentine's Day surprises. At first I was just like, all right, why you doing this for? Like, slight spoiler to the point of like literally stealing Wonder Woman's lasso truth. That one caught me by surprise. Just to find out from Ivy what she was hiding, like that catch me by surprise, right? But like when you really realize what's going on, I was like, oh, okay, that makes sense, and that's why Harley moved this way, and that's why Ivy moved this way, right? And then they make a little reveal in the end about how they first met, and it's like, oh, that's real nice. I like that, right? Even though I would admit leading up to that point though was just so over the top and insane though, right? But yeah, for what it is, I liked it. I didn't love it, but I enjoyed it for what it was, man. So rating wise, I'll give this a light 3.5 out of 5. If you're a Harley Quinn fan, it's worth checking out. I would say this is actually for Harley Quinn fans. If you've never really cared for the show at all, this will do nothing for you. If you always felt that show was just too crass and vulgar, then you will just be turned off instantly when you watch this special here. But yeah, for what it is, it's fine. I like it. So Ricardo, your thoughts on it unwritten?
Oh yeah, again, well, in comparison to we just watched Velma, I mean, chalk and cheese, right? I mean, this is how you do this, at least in terms of just noticeable. Main thing I noticed is the comedy timing and when to drop a joke and in context with what. And this actually make me laugh and they make it work for what it is. The stuff with Etrigan is great. Stuff with Brain is great. It's a shame that we don't get any King Shark. But the core material of Ivy and Harley is what it works. It's really charming and touching what they do at the end here. And yeah, it's just a solid special. It just works for what it is. Not super funny, but I felt again they could have punched up a couple jokes. Again, really, the only person who held it back was really Clayface, in my humble opinion. He's the only thing that held it back, but I thought the Bane stuff was pretty good. Yeah, and as I said, they just keep it at that. They keep it as a core, simple script, and yeah, it's a Halloween, a Valentine's Day special, and they make it work. This guy from what's his name? What was the actor name? Boy, shit, the fellow from
Brett
Ted Lasso.
I was like, wait, you in this too?
Right,
What?
right.
You know?
That central bit is, I felt could have been funnier, or at least they could have do something more or punch that up a little better. But it was still
Agreed.
okay, like for what it was.
Well, before I forget, Tracy, when you get to your review, there was that they make a reference to a moment in the Vampire Diaries. So I never watched that show, but maybe you could tell me how truthful they are to it. But it make for a pretty interesting joke.
I know it. I know it vaguely, so I'll let that pass. To be honest, because
All right,
this is like
okay.
a big thing.
Right. Well, I just remember that as you mentioned Brett Goldstein and Ted Lasso and stuff like that, because they do mention Ted Lasso as well, right? But
They do have a WandaVision joke inside there with Brett, so that for me was the hilarity. But yeah.
Right. But yeah, Ricardo.
No, as I said, they make it work for what it is. It's reasonably workable, quite funny for what it does. And I've really felt they could have make it could have punched up a little bit, but it was still good because they keep to the core between Ivy and Harley and the whole, like when they reveal her best Valentine. And oh, that's nice. And they make it work for what it is. Rating, solid, 7 out of 10. Yeah, it's good.
All right, Tracy, close things off. Yeah, your thoughts on the special here.
I'm going to agree with something that Ricardo said at the beginning, which is where my brain was in terms of, even with Velma, the idea of Harley Quinn being a better, well-crafted adult show, as opposed to the other thing that y'all just talked about, which seems to be trying to veer into that territory because they're both on HBO Max, but it's weird. For me,
by the way, which they make fun of too, because they do bring up HBO Max quite a couple of times.
Right, yeah.
But that was funny.
My heights in that, for me, as much as it was called a very problematic Valentine's, it's weird. I did not see the problematic. It was pure Harley. Yes, Harley would go and dress up as an Amazon and try and steal Diana's lasso and give her a whole. That is Harley. Like, I feel like that is Harley. The whole King Shark thing, they kind of missed an opportunity in terms of there is in certain parts of the lore where King Shark was the ex of John Constantine at one point in time. So that could have been a hilarity there, but for all intents and purposes. But I liked it. I didn't really have much of an issue with it. Clayface, for me, I keep, whenever I see Clayface, I go back to his role as Stephanie in season 1.
Right.
And that for me is like, that is pure Clayface. And also the idea of Clayface being, this might be an insider joke, but Clayface being a top and the other half of it being a bottom, which is another joke depending on where you fall. That was deeply hilarious. I like the idea of those sessions where you actually got to talk to some of the other couples and how they play out. Etrigan being there is decidedly hilarious. All in all, for me, it's not something that I would be like, oh, I simply must see this for about 4 more times. But I do agree that it was solid. I do agree that it was fun. I like the expansion of the relationship. And I think, for me, I'll wrap it up as like a 7.5 or an 8 or thereabouts out of 10. It was good. It was good. It was fun to watch. I enjoyed myself.